And we're up! We are live! We have people in the chat. What's going on, JC Penny faithful? I'm your host, Sean Fitzgerald. With me is my partner in crime, Jerry LeBlanc. We have drafted. It is time for a Deep Creek debrief. Our first draft in Deep Creek Lake. We only had one person who took 2 days to get home. Sorry, James. I don't know if anyone heard, but James, I think I posted in the chat, he missed his flight, his flight got canceled because of the weather, I guess, that flying out of Pittsburgh. So he had to rent a car and drive home on a second day, drive 8 hours, which, maybe we'll do the Poconos. Maybe we'll do the Poconos next year. But we're going to be talking about, as is tradition, our picks for our top 3 teams, bottom 3 teams. I think what we'll probably one of the things we end up doing is we end up spoiling our biggest steals, biggest reaches, best picks, worst picks. So we'll kind of.
You mean when we sat there talking for hours on end at the draft?
Right. So and I think by picking our top 3, bottom 3, we kind of spoil some of the picks themselves. So I think maybe this year what we'll do is we'll talk about some of our best picks and then lead into our top 3 and bottom 3 teams. Jerry, do you want to take the honors or do you want me to start?
You can start.
All right. So let's start I think it's important to start with shame. I think it's important to start with what I would say is perhaps the biggest reach of the draft. And there were a couple smaller ones. I think I was surprised at how early Bijan went. I did not have any mocks where Bijan Robinson went before Christian McCaffrey, nor did I have any mocks where Bijan Robinson went at the 3. So that was a little bit of a surprise. I think Derrick Henry went a hair early, but I get the value. I think the one that, if I had to pick one that truly stands out the most for me, and I'm doing this off the cuff. It's been a while since I've looked at this draft board. Maybe it's just me. I feel like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Sam Laporta were both a little bit too high, and they were back-to-back for Zach. And I feel like here I go again, shitting on Zach's team, so he's going to do well.
So I'm annoyed that I let you go first now, because Marvin Harrison Jr. was the one guy that I was it's not a huge reach, but he was drafted as the number 8 overall wide receiver.
Right.
Puka Nacua broke every single rookie record last year, and I think he finished 5th.
Right.
So I'm it's just so hard to be in the top 8 as a rookie. To draft him that early just seemed and I don't think it was a huge massive reach. He's obviously
no. I don't think
that was I was struggling to find a lot of reaches as I was doing some research on this today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like I said, I still think Laporta's early, where even at the late 4, but I get it again, and I think you make the case for both, right? They're really high upside guys. Harrison could be electric with Kyler, but you're right to draft him above proven commodities like Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. I know you're down on the Raiders offense, the Saints offense, I think from what we discussed at the draft. But
I mean, two full rounds later, Jalen Waddle, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, DJ Moore. I'm looking at it 2-3 rounds down, and it's just there's all these guys that have already done it before.
Yeah. No, I completely concur. And there were a couple. I mean, it's hard when you talk about good values, right? It's hard to be upset at the 5 and 6, you and Brad getting McCaffrey and Allen, the consensus best running back, best quarterback, going 5 and 6 in a Superflex league. Those are tremendous values. If I had to pick one that really jumps out, it would probably be Kyler Murray at 30. I was thinking Kyler 10 picks earlier. And I was torn between Kyler and Dak. I went with Dak because I have Lamar Jackson. I wanted a safer floor. I never in my wildest dreams thought that Kyler would be picked at the end of the 3rd round, like right before this run of quarterbacks in the 4th round. I mean, and obviously it's the turn, like, but for Jason Smith saying I want Kyler first, technically speaking, Kyler could have been a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
Did not have that in mocks. I thought that was huge value. I think quarterbacks did not go nearly as hard as they did last year.
Yeah. So early. This is going to become a thing that we talk about later, but like, I immediately go to actually another one of Jason Smith. How did he get CeeDee Lamb at the end of the 1st?
Yeah.
Like every mock I had him, he was in the top 5. So like the fact that he got him there at 10 is also just wild to me.
I think it's a product of Bijan going and I get Tyreek. I was debating Tyreek at 101. But like I think it's a product of Tyreek going, Bijan going, guys who, maybe we're waiting, like, you have to choose between CD and Tyreek if you're going wide receiver, right?
Yeah, but I mean, just the fact that in a 3 wide receiver, half-point PPR, only 2 wide receivers at all went in the 1st round. Like, it wouldn't have surprised me if another one snuck in there. But, like, I did not expect it to be at the 10 spot.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you.
So just rolling back really quick to reaches, I think the biggest reach of the draft that we saved him from was Zach trying to take a kicker. I don't know what he was really thinking there, but
that was a wild moment.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I don't think we've had kickers for like 2 years now. So Zach, get it together. What are we doing?
Well, he was in fairness to the man. And the chat has gone awfully silent now. Unless
now that we've actually started.
Like, we started talking, and the chat has completely gone silent. I'm waiting for people to start commenting in the chat. What are your picks for, like, if you're in the chat right now, give us your picks for biggest steals in the draft and biggest reaches. So we've been talking about reaches. Such good content, says Scott. Thanks, Scott. Way to pander. We've been talking about reaches. Are there any others on your board that we need to talk about? I'm trying to see if there are any more on mine.
Reaches wise or steals wise?
Let's finish reaches. I don't think we've done we've done a couple steals.
So, like I said, I struggled to really find a lot of reaches. I mean, I feel like there was just a couple of different spots where I'm like, I ran into back-to-back spots with my quarterbacks where I'm just like, oh, I have to take a quarterback because when it comes back around, there's about to be a run, and then like back-to-back times it just didn't happen. It was like, well, if I'd known like one quarterback was going to go in this stretch, then I wouldn't have probably drafted Trevor Lawrence right there when I did. So, and kind of the same thing with Brock Purdy. Like, Brock Purdy, on that turn, Jared Goff was the only other one to go. On that next turn, Baker Mayfield was the only other one to go. Like, if I was expecting like Justin Herbert to not go another 2.5 rounds later or whatever it was.
He fell far.
Yeah. So, like I said, I didn't have a lot of reaches. Probably those two were like, I guess it's kind of like the full definition of a reach. Like, would have been there on the next pick. I think in both of my spots, both of my quarterbacks would have been there on my next pick if I had just waited.
One thing that Brad said, no way DH is RB4 value reach.
Derrick Henry? Yeah. I mean, probably that's also a little high.
Yeah, I mean, I think Window had a couple. I have no problem with Mahomes at 7. That's absolutely fine. Again, especially in a super flex where you're worried about getting a quarterback on the back turn. But he gets Henry, and I get the appeal for Henry, right? Like, ideal offense for him. Yeah, he's old, but you're talking about the Baltimore Ravens run the ball almost more than anybody. But it is RB4. Like, you're hinging everything on him. And he's got other running backs, but the problem is in a super flex league with 3 wide receivers,
you need wide receivers.
Yeah, and his wide receivers aren't bad. Devontae Adams, Debo, and Tank Dell. But I will say, I think he might have saved it with Cortland Sutton late, because Cortland Sutton looks like he's developing chemistry with Bo Nix.
Yeah, I think also Xavier Worthy he has a lot of upside.
Yeah.
But I think that he also made it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. Jason Smith had a comment. He says CMC going at 5 is the biggest steal. he says there weren't many massive reaches. I think DH was surprising. Lamar is QB1 and 1 overall, and Bijan is RB1 and 3 overall. We talked about Bijan a little bit, so let's talk about Lamar. What is your take on the Lamar Jackson at 101?
I think it was a mistake. I don't think it's some dramatic overreach. Like, I expected Lamar Jackson to go in the first round. I probably expected him more like where Josh Allen went, like in that 6-7 spot.
That's fair.
So, I mean, I get why you did it. I just don't think he's gonna, like, how often do people win back-to-back MVPs?
I get it. I totally get it. And look, if we found out last year, like, I drafted Patrick Mahomes, who was as safe quarterbacks could be. And the consensus #1 quarterback, and then he finished like top 6 or something like that. Like, fine, but not where I needed him to be. I'm expecting Lamar to do the same. But and honestly, in hindsight, had I known who knows how the permutations would have gone if I had gone Tyreek at 101, that was my other choice. But I'm just dreaming of a lineup with Tyreek, Dak, and Kyler as my front three. I wouldn't have had Jonathan Taylor, but man, it would have been sweet.
Yeah. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I think, finished 4th overall last year.
Okay.
I mean, but I will say there's a pretty big gap, I think, from where they all landed.
Right. And Josh Allen, like, again, I have no fault if anyone wants to draft him 101. I hate the guy, obviously, Dolphins fan, but I have no problem with anyone drafting Josh Allen 101. I have major questions about Buffalo's offense. Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel's back with the offensive coordinator he's been most productive with, but like, who is catching? Jason Smith says in the chat, if Mahomes wide receivers could catch, he would have been QB1. If Mahomes wide receivers, he had wide receivers.
There was a lot of drops last year. That's a valid.
But what is Buffalo's offense look like without Stephon Diggs? Like,
I don't think that's going to be as big of a drop.
Gabe Davis.
I get it. I get what you're saying. But also, I mean, Patrick Mahomes didn't need the rushing. And I think Josh Allen, had like 15 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
Like, if he even gets 10, he regresses some. Like, he's still going to have, like, his rushing ability, like, helps that floor so much.
Sure. And there will be touchdown regression for sure with Josh Allen and with probably a lot of these mobile quarterbacks.
Probably.
The thing is, like, and Brad said, speaking of regression, he feels like Lamar or Hurts will regress below QB 10, and yet they were the first 2 off the board. I don't know that
10.
So that's an interesting. I have 4 slap bets, so I think I've filled my slap bet quota. But we could pop off a slap bet in the chat, or whoever wants to, whether if Brad's willing to go on that one, whether either Lamar or Jalen Hurts will finish below QB 10, meaning QB 11 or worse. Something to think about. All I'll say is this. We've talked about for years on this pod about mobile quarterbacks being the contra code of fantasy football, right? It adds that deceptive value to a draft pick. Josh Allen, they're all going to have some touchdown regression. I think Jalen Hurts, because of the brotherly shove being less effective without Jason Kelsey, less implemented without with Saquon in the lineup. So you could argue Lamar might have less, carrying the ball directly because of Derrick Henry leaning on him a little heavier. Josh Allen has to regress from touchdowns just by metrics. It just has to happen.
Like I said, I expect some regression. But I mean, Lamar Jackson is a mobile quarterback. He had 5 rushing touchdowns last year. I mean, if you cut it in half for Josh Allen, he's still just that. It's just that extra. It's just too much to ignore. Like I said, I think if I were you, I would have gone Josh Allen at 1. Having said that, I didn't take Josh Allen at 5. So what do I know?
Now here's the question. This is the last thing I'll say about. We've been talking about mobile quarterbacks. I want to talk about one more. We know what C.J. Stroud has done. Like, and I'm actually talking about top tier quarterbacks generally, because we've talked about a lot of them. We haven't talked about C.J. Stroud or Joe Burrow, but I think they're somewhat known commodities. I mean, Stroud could have a sophomore regression. We'll see, but I doubt it. I
think he'll be good, but again, like, he was good and he finished as the 9th quarterback last year.
Yeah, I love McMillan's quarterbacks. I really do. In Hurts and Stroud. But here's the one that I think has the biggest question mark, even bigger than any of these guys we talked about. It has to be Big Tony. It has to be Anthony Richardson, right? And Scott got him at 109. I mean,
you're saying that he's going to do what?
He's the biggest question mark out of all the quarterbacks in
Oh,
this draft.
absolutely. I mean, he played like 4 games last year.
And he was so good. But he played 4 games.
Yeah. I mean, let's see him do it first. I was surprised to see Anthony Richardson be so high on everybody's board. Like everywhere I saw him, it was like as a top 5 quarterback. And I know he was good, but I don't know. I got to see it again. I got to see some of it. I wouldn't have used a first round draft pick on Anthony Richardson, obviously.
There's so much risk.
Yeah.
So, all right, we've talked about some of the top quarterbacks. We talked about some reaches and some steals. It might be AR5 drafted at his ceiling after playing 4 games, says Jason Smith. So let's...
Kind of what I'm screaming.
Let's talk about... We've talked about some of the top talent. Let's talk about some real hidden gems before we move on to top 3, bottom 3. We'll say 9th round or later. What
9th round or later? Dang, I had one more little quick steal.
Okay, no, go.
Just to throw it really quick.
Yeah.
Just to loop back to what we were talking about with Windows team and taking Derrick Henry early. I think he really made up for it, like getting Travis Etienne in the 4th. He was RB3 last year.
Yeah.
And Window got him at RB11.
Yeah.
Like, again, I think that he has an extremely high chance of outperforming his ADP for running backs there.
You want to know the crazy thing is he went back-to-back picks, or like one after the other. Window takes ETN. The next pick is Brad takes running back, takes Devon Achane. Another, if you want to talk about question marks, if Big Tony is the big question mark for quarterbacks, there is no running back with more. It's almost an identical situation with Devon Achane. Big injury questions, limited sample size, was unbelievable when he was on the field, but he's still, as a Miami Dolphins fan, I can tell you, he's still in a committee with Raheem Mostert.
Oh, absolutely. Raheem Mostert finished as RB2 last year.
And to be fair, Brad got them both, but
he
went at the 108. So he went in the 8th round. If one of them gets injured, Brad is looking amazing, but even then, Jalen Wright is going to be sniffing around the Miami backfield and getting touches.
Yeah, and I think Achane finished like 25th. I mean, I think one of the big things to remember is like he obviously has like this huge boom potential, but he scored 177 fantasy points last year. 50 of them came in 1 game. So I'm like, he missed 5 games. I think it was 5 games. I don't know. I just don't like that's almost like too much of a floor ceiling situation that I just don't want to be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But obviously if one of them gets hurt, then
all bets are off.
Yeah, all bets are off. But then what if both of them get hurt?
Yeah.
Raheem Mostert hasn't been the most healthy running back over the last 5 years.
You shut your mouth. Don't jinx him. Jason Smith made with a couple good points. He said, with AR, just last thing about Big Tony, he said he can only do worse than the draft position. Scotty said, I hate the Big Tony pick in retrospect. Jason Smith, it could be a huge pick, just an unknown. Don't win playing it safe, though. So let's go on to kind of some hidden gems.
Make money.
Scared money don't make money. Ain't that the truth? Or people who bet on FSU don't make money.
Bruh.
So rough.
But I'm a Texas fan. I don't know what you're getting at.
Don't kill me, Sam. So starting in the 9th round would be, I think, when we took a break. No, we didn't take a break. We kept going through the draft. But I think I started the 9th round with George Kittle. If my math is right. So starting there, kind of a late gem. If you're in the chat, hit us in the chat with a late gem. Who's your favorite pick, 9th round or later? And Jerry, since I started on biggest steal, or since I start off the bat, I'll let you go if you want. Otherwise, I can kind of ad lib.
Yeah, I was kind of taking a quick look here.
So the one that I said earlier, I can just kind of reiterate. One of my favorite picks late is Cortland Sutton. 9, 10, 11, 12th round. I think he is the wide receiver 1 in Denver, and I know it's, I am a big believer in like you have to love the offense for the most part, but he's gonna get targets. He's got chemistry with Bo Nix from what everyone. And there's another adage of fantasy football: take everything out of training camp with a grain of salt because they blow smoke up everyone's asses in terms of like, oh yeah, this offense is so great, so amazing.
Yeah.
But there are positive reports out of training camp. I do think Cortland Sutton's going to be a great value pick. And then the one that the chat is kind of harping on is right before that in the 8th round. Or sorry. Sutton was 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round. Sutton was 12th round. Jerome Ford in the 11th. Like about, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks earlier.
Yeah.
I actually disagree with that, Jason. Jason says that's the best pick after the 9th round. I get starting running back, right? I get it. But in theory, Nick Chubb could come back this season. We have no idea when, but they said he's progressing. I mean, I think the thought is he would come back this season. And Ford is going to be, hey, James in the chat, Ford doesn't, everyone's saying, oh yeah, he's got the starting job. I'm not so sure. There are other running backs in Cleveland. I mean, I don't think
I think he's going to have the starting job, but like, I also just am really not a believer in the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
So I don't, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I drafted a single player on that team. I didn't want any part of it. So.
You did not.
Yeah, I didn't think that I did. Yeah, but like I wasn't touching Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, Deshaun Watson. Jason's got bad juju for that.
Wow. Chad is in love with Jerome Ford.
Maybe I could be wrong. I'm just not a fan of Cleveland Browns players in general.
I had no shares of them. Chat disagrees apparently. I get the appeal, but like looking at the running backs he went like in the
Coaches
same.
have been praising Ford lately. Jason just chimed in. Like, yeah, and you know who was also getting praised? DJ Uyunglele for Florida State, and he can't complete a pass right now. So a lot of
Florida State hate in this pod. No, so like look at the running backs he went around, right? Okay, Jaylen Warren. Granted, Jason drafted him not knowing he had just gotten injured that night, but looks to be fine. Is the more explosive running back out of Pittsburgh. Could very well run away with that starting job. Chase Brown, okay, part of the two-headed committee with Zach Moss in Cincinnati. Tyjae Spears, part of a committee. Ezekiel Elliott, part of a committee. I get the argument, oh, he's the RB1. But we have no idea for how long. And yeah, you're saying, okay, half a season. Maybe. We know it's 4 games. That's all we know. That's a third of the season.
I'm just saying, every year you get a starting running back who's that for the entire year, and they end up as the RB30.
Right.
Like, it's inevitably that has to happen somewhere. I don't believe in the Cleveland Browns. I could be looking like a fool for this, but I don't know.
Also, who's the Chargers running back?
The Chargers running back
It's Gus Edwards, right? Because if it's Gus Edwards, he was drafted 2 rounds later.
Yep, right now it's Gus Edwards.
Hey, a full season of RB1 in the 13th or whatever.
I mean, I think the expectation is J.K. Dobbins. Am I wrong right now? But weren't Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins both on the Ravens together?
Yes. It's Gus. Cool. By the way, Gus the Bus. Gus Edwards is actually his full name is Augustus. So I think we should technically be calling him Augustus Bustus. So, no, we talked about some value. Gus's committee, yes, so could Jerome Ford. There are other running backs in Cleveland, that's all I'm saying. I'm stopping with Jerome Ford hate now. So, we've talked about, Sam's in the chat, no more bashing Florida State. We got to talk about that top 3, bottom 3. Give me one of your top 3 teams.
I mean, I think I said it like immediately at the draft, but as much as I hate the 10 turn, like I think Jason just got a lot of value all the way down his roster. So that is going to be my first pick as the
I,
top three.
I absolutely concur with you. I think he benefited from the fact that he got. I mean, I think he got two quarterbacks with tremendous upside. He has two of the three best receivers in fantasy football. He has fantastic running back depth. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, Joe Mixon, Ramondre Stevenson, Jalen Warren. Hard to believe that there aren't going to be two, at least RB2s.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Ramondre Stevenson, but like I like Joe Mixon, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jalen Warren when he's healthy. I think he's going to be getting some work. And we just talked about Gus Edwards. Yeah. Gus Edwards is technically the starter right now, and he also has J.K. Dobbins just in case there's an injury there.
He took a lottery ticket on Khalil Shakir because why not take a Buffalo wide receiver and see if he hits? Like I love Jason's draft from top to bottom. He is also in my top three. And like you said, it is very difficult drafting, at either turn, 1 or 10. But particularly 10 because you're waiting so long to get those picks in. You have to sometimes make reaches. It's very hard to get consistent value, pick in, pick out. I think he did a tremendous job. So since you did the first one and did that, I will do the second one. I think I can't believe I'm going to do this, and I feel not great about it. Let me see. Now, give me an excuse not to do it. Hold on.
Don't do it. Don't pick yourself right now.
At
least save yourself for last.
I'm definitely not picking me, because I just don't have the talent top to bottom. I don't think, unless I really get some hits. I have me middle of the pack. I think I'm going to say. It's tough. Like, I have like 3 teams that I think are good, and I'm just kind of debating who I think is better. Sorry about the dead air. All right, I'm going with my gut. I really like Brad's draft, and I don't love his wide receivers that much, but everything else I'm in love with. Obviously, McCaffrey and Pacheco is beautiful. I love Purdy in the 4th. I love Trevor Lawrence in the 6th.
This is so fun that you said Brad because you're describing my team right now.
You're at least on sorry. So, sorry, Brad.
Brad, your team can get fucked.
I got confused by the stolen team name. So no, Jerry then. Sorry. Gosh, I'm tired. Don't kids. Anyway, so yeah, I would say your team. McCaffrey, Pacheco, I'm in love with. Purdy, Lawrence, I'm in love with. Although it is a homer pick for you, then. Your wide receivers, I don't love. Wilson, absolutely good value. Cooper Kupp, fine. Like, I have no objection to Cooper Kupp where you got him.
He was hurt last year. I think I took him in the first round last year, and he was pretty much 50-50 targets with Nakua last year when he was back. So, like, I feel really good about getting him in the 5th.
Your
drops off after that, though.
Your wide receivers beyond that. You have 2 wide receivers.
He drops off.
And
2 legit, and then I'm gonna be in like the hell of which one do I start because my bench is just gonna go off every week.
I'm there with 4 wide receivers, so trust me, I'm right there with you. But what I'm saying, that is the problem, and you just need what you really need is one or 2 of those guys to hit. You need Curtis Samuel to rekindle, some targets in Buffalo. You need Jameson Williams to take the next step. You need Adam Thielen to keep producing in Carolina. He is the wide receiver 1 there, so. Maybe he will. But you need a couple of those guys to hit, or T. Higgins to recapture some form, Keenan Allen to develop with Caleb Williams. Like, you need a couple of those guys to hit. But I would say I would put your team in the top 3 right now. I think it's in a grouping, though. I would still put Jason.
Would you say that it's like in the group of the top 3?
I would say it's in the. I still think Jason's probably my favorite team. I would put you in like the 2 to 4 range is where I have you, and I'm debating between the other 2 teams in that grouping for me. So I'll let you name a team.
So I'm just gonna make Brad feel better about. I already had Brad's name up, so when you said Brad's name, I was kind of like, God damn it, you're stealing my thunder again. But then you started describing my team. But no, so Brad is the next team that I had in the top three. I mean, I regret now not taking Josh Allen. I panicked. I saw Christian McCaffrey. I just don't have a really good track record with Christian McCaffrey staying healthy when I've had him on my teams.
True.
So I kind of wish I had taken Josh Allen, but I love Josh Allen, especially where I got him at 6. I love Zamir White. I think it was last year that I took Zamir White as like my last round pick, thinking like he was going to win the job from Josh Jacobs, and then it just never happened. And I think he's going to get all of the work this year now that Jacobs is gone. Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. I wonder if it's going to be like having Sam Darnold, but like I think Justin Jefferson is quarterback proof. Brandon Ayuk fucked me in the playoffs last year. He just signed his deal. And again, we've already talked about the upside that the Miami running backs have. And if last year's draft with Scotty taking all the players that I wanted is any indication, Keon Coleman's going to be like the wide receiver 5 this year.
So I will say I think Brad benefited from, one of the things he benefited from was the Brandon Ayuk kind of, will they trade him, won't they trade him, which I think lowered his ADP a little bit. And now find out he's going to be in, San Francisco. I think there is value in that 6th round pick. I'm not as crazy about Brad's team as you are. But I'm also not, I don't have a lot of shares of Jordan Love or Devon Achane. Obviously his first 2 picks are studs, but I just, beyond that, I'm not as crazy about his team as a whole. He has a lot more Tennessee Titans than I would want on my team.
I get it.
But
I expect Zamir White. It would not surprise me at all if Zamir White ends up as a top 10 running back this year.
But I will tell you, I do not have Brad in my bottom 3. So I'd say middle of the pack is where I project him. Your last top 3?
Give me 1 sec to open it up so I can talk about it. My internet's moving slow. One of these days we're gonna go back to doing this podcast in the same room together. It's gonna be great.
It will be great. I'm still debating between my 2 teams, which one I'm gonna give the nod to.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw this name out there, and maybe this is a controversial opinion, but there's just there's like too many people on his team that I actually really like. So I'm gonna throw Window into my final spot of my top 3.
Wow.
I love Patrick Mahomes at 8. I love Travis Etienne as the running back 11. He could be a top 5 running back. Devontae Adams could still be like the best wide receiver in the league. I love Tank Dell. I love Kenneth Walker. Like Xavier Worthy is super high upside. Devin Singletary, we already talked about the whole starting running back situation, but Devin Singletary is the starting running back in New York. You already talked about how you like Cortland Sutton, getting him as late as he did. There's just so many pieces that he has that I just love.
I guess I got to do this now. Windows in my
bottom. You have in your bottom 3.
Windows in my bottom 3, and it's I get your arguments. I think this is a boomer bust situation. I do think there's a universe where Window is a first round buy. I also think there are more universes where he misses the playoffs, and the reason why is just because I think his wide receivers, sure, Devontae Adams, no objection. His running backs, no objection to his stable of running backs. But Patrick Mahomes. But I am less trusting of his wide receivers. Can't say wide receivers. There's a stable of them, and I think it's a little bit of a lottery, of like who's going to be the guy, who's going to have value in the Kansas City offense besides Travis Kelce. Interest catching passes, sorry. Yes, I think there is upside in every single one of the receivers that he has, but he also has very low floors on those receivers.
This is true. I just think Xavier Worthy has. I just love Tank Dell, Devontae Adams, Xavier Worthy is huge.
The biggest hole on his team. I don't even hate Trey McBride. I would have taken Kyle Pitts or George Kittle over him, but whatever. I don't hate that you're grabbing a tight end in the whatever round 7th. My biggest problem with his team, and I've said this at the draft, is the lack of a true super flex. You're going to start Will Levis or Bo Nix. or are you going to start another
Yeah.
offensive player? Like,
I think it'll still be a quarterback almost always, but
but
like
there are going to be weeks where that quarterback puts up 5 and is going to.
I mean, you'd really hope not.
I am now going to go while you defend the Windows team. I want to go in and look at Will Levis and Bo Nix. I can't look at it. I want to look at Will Levis's numbers last year and the weeks where he busted.
So quickly looking at what he did last year, 26, 9, 6, 13. I'm rounding, obviously. 7, 11, 17, 15. Oh, and then he had a week where he only threw 6 passes and got negative points. So, but he also missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games last year.
But that's just it, is the weeks that he busts. If Windows starts him, you're giving up 15 to 20 points at that position. It's a huge margin to give up. Same with Bo Nix. In weeks where he struggles as a rookie quarterback, you're giving up at least 10 to 15 points to whatever the other opposing quarterback is usually. Because that's the thing about Superflex that's so hard, is like, you need your quarterbacks to have those high floors and be consistent week in, week out. If not, you're playing catch up from the jump, and it's so hard for other positions to make up that ground.
Sure.
I am. That's my biggest reason I put Window in the bottom 3 is when in doubt, I look at your quarterbacks, and if I think they're solid, they have solid enough floors to get you where you need to be. I just think he's gonna be conceding too many points on that. And yeah, Patrick Mahomes is about as safe of a floor as they come, but I don't want to be in that situation. I'd rather roll the dice with wide receivers. Scotty agrees. So I gotta pick now my final top 3 team, and I will spoil this. I'll let you know. Brad, I'm gonna answer your question in a second. So the 2 teams that I was considering are both the Hagerstown boys. Honestly, I think they're fairly comparable. I think McMillan has slightly better. Zach in the chat. I assume you're done shit talking.
Zach, we haven't even gotten to the bottom 3 yet.
We're about to. So between the Hagerstown boys, Nuke the Neighbors, and the Marlboro man, I give the nod to McMillan on quarterbacks. I give the nod to Alex on running backs. Wide receivers, it's kind of a wash to me anyway. And that's where I'm really struggling. I think what is going to let me pick McMillan is Mark Andrews.
Wow.
I think either of them could be in top 3 at season's end. I am going to go with McMillan. There is a lot of upside at every position. Obviously, Jalen Hurts and C.J. Stroud. Obviously, Puka. Rachaad White, safe. Mark Andrews, safe. Pittman is a little bit of a question mark for me, as is Aaron Jones in a new setting in Minnesota. But I think he also has a chip on his shoulder for, Green Bay letting him walk and going to a division rival. Malik Neighbors is one of my favorite picks at where he got him because of just the tremendous upside there is. I know it's Danny Dimes throwing him the ball, but still. And then DeAndre Swift in Chicago's offense, There's a lot to like about it. He got Nick Chubb late. He can have sit on his bench. He got Brandon Cooks, the wide receiver 2 in Dallas. He got DeAndre Hopkins. Nuke always can put up numbers. There's a lot to like about his lineup top to bottom. Not to mention the Ravens defense, is a good defense. I am not a fan of drafting defenses early, but it's good to have them. So I'm going to give the nod to McMillan. I think it's close, though. I think both he and Alex I would put in the playoffs.
And that would segue into my bottom 3, which is McMillan.
I love this show.
No, excuse me. So, I hate his running backs. Rachaad White, super low on him. Aaron Jones in Minnesota. Sam Darnold is your quarterback. Don't love it. I think they're going to be behind a lot. I don't think that he's going to. I I just don't think he's going to get a ton of work in the grand scheme of things. I could be wrong. Don't love his running backs. Puka Nacua, I think there's going to be a regression, assuming that Cooper Kupp isn't going to miss 6 weeks again. Because again, they were pretty much a 50-50 split on target share last year when Cooper Kupp was there. Puka Nacua did a lot of his damage in that first like 5 weeks when Cooper Kupp was out. Malik Neighbors a little bit of a question mark. Daniel Jones, New York Giants. I do like Mark Andrews, but like DeAndre Swift is the third down back there. Like, am I wrong about that? I could be misremembering. I'm pretty sure there's somebody who's starting. Isn't David Montgomery in Chicago?
No, David Montgomery's in Detroit.
He's in Detroit now. Is there another running back in Chicago? Like I said, I'm literally saying I could be misremembering right now.
I'm sure there's another running back. I think he is the starter.
Yeah, he could be the starter, but
I'm trying to think of who else is in. He might be the guy. Now I'm thinking about it, 'cause I don't know if there's another running back in Chicago. That at least I don't think there was one that was drafted. Shout out to the chat if you know of a running back in Chicago that was drafted, let us know. But I don't think there was. I think it's just
Khalil Herbert is the other one.
Okay.
So like I don't expect it to be like a committee, but like I feel like he'll get some work as well. Nick Chubb, I don't know why he doesn't already have Nick Chubb in his IR spot and he could have another person on his bench.
That's bad managing.
What are we doing?
Yeah, Alex just said in the chat, Khalil Herbert.
Yeah.
That's the exact reason, by the way, I took TJ Hawkinson in the 17th. It's like, yeah, I'll just stash him in the IR and then get somebody else.
Like, I'm so mad. There's actually someone that I want to add and put in the IR, but I was like, I already dropped somebody to pick up a second defense for this week because I don't like Kansas City's matchup. And I'm like, I don't want to re-drop a defense to pick up the person just to stick. Like, why can't I add someone directly to my IR? Can we fix that?
Nope, not allowed. Nope.
But no, DeAndre Hopkins, well past his prime. Nick Chubb, maybe he plays this year. Who knows? Brandon Cooks, I don't think did much of anything last year. I think he had
he's a 14th rounder.
He had like one big game. No, yeah, but like I don't trust anyone really on his bench. And again, I've already kind of expressed my things with his starters. Like I'm really low on his running backs. I don't like. It wouldn't surprise me if neither of his running backs end up in the top 15.
How about I make a pick that I think we both can agree on for bottom 3?
Uh-oh.
And it's not who you think it is.
Don't steal my thunder, Sean.
I'm about to steal your thunder, I think. Maybe. I know my third pick will steal your thunder. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let you steal my thunder if you want. But I am going to say that we're going to have a first to worst situation in the league.
I do not have Scotty in my bottom 3.
Well, that makes one of us because I have him in mind. Yeah, I mean, we talked about the question marks, Big Tony. And again, it's hard for anyone to hate your first couple rounds unless you really, really screw something up fierce. It's hard for anyone to hate your picks in the first couple rounds. But when you get past round 3 for Scotty, there's nothing I really love. And there was opportunity. He went Jaden Daniels over Tua, right? No, sorry. Yeah. No, he went Jaden Daniels over Tua. So he went Jaden Daniels over Tua. He went James Cook over Joe Mixon. Like, don't get those. Then he went DK Metcalf when... I don't know. Let me make sure I'm doing the arrows right here. Jaden before Tua, James Cook before Joe Mixon, DK before Stephon Diggs and Brandon Ayuk. Don't like that. Dalton Kincaid then.
A little hindsight on talking about Brandon Ayuk. We already talked about how he hadn't had a deal in place. He might have been getting traded. So I can understand why he didn't take Brandon Ayuk in that spot.
And you have Amari Cooper available and you go with Dalton Kincaid when you need a third wide receiver. Like, I just don't get it. And there are picks I like. I like Christian Watson. I had some shares of him. You know, I love Blake Corum late.
Is it possible that Scotty didn't know what he was doing and he just got lucky?
Oh, it's absolutely possible. No, there's a lot on Scotty's team I don't like. I don't even don't like. Scotty's team is aggressively average. And I just think he missed a lot of opportunities. I think he had great opportunities to really solidify his chances of going back to back. I think he had a lot of good opportunities and he got good players in the first 3 rounds, but beyond that, he really had some misses. Again, I just don't... I am surprised that he drafted Jaden Daniels before Tua and Brock Purdy. Even if you don't like Tua, Brock Purdy is on the board. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not that low on him. I think he's going to be like a middle of the pack. But
Would you draft him before Caleb Williams?
I'm sorry.
Would you draft Jaden Daniels a full round before Caleb Williams?
Probably not. But it's also a situation where, like, again, you have that running floor that you're expecting to have.
It's actually almost really.
Washington's gonna be down a lot. They're gonna be throwing a lot.
It's Chicago could be too, and they have way more weapons. And it's not even just a round. It's really almost 2 rounds because he drafted him at what 32. Caleb Williams went at 50.
No, like I said, like I think there's the rushing floor is higher for Jaden Daniels, but I also just think like the Bears are not going to be bad. Like they won 7 games last year without a real quarterback. Like I think they're going to be up in a lot of games. They're going to run the ball. Yeah. Washington's going to be down in a lot of games. They're going to have to throw the ball.
Yeah, but Scotty, bottom 3. Gotcha. So that's number 2 for me. Who you got?
I feel like we haven't talked a lot about his team today, outside of like the very first thing we talked about. But I have James in the bottom 3.
I get it. He's not my 3rd, but I get it.
Yeah, I mean, like Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield. I mean, I know Jared Goff had a good year last year. I think there's going to be a little bit of regression.
If I had a bottom 4, he would be in it. But I get it.
Yeah, it's like I don't. Just like AJ Brown, I don't like I know he again had a really big year last year, but like adding in Saquon into that offense, it wouldn't surprise me if they try to run the ball a lot more. I mean, I guess he did kind of get the stack with Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, but I also don't think that Tampa Bay is going to be super relevant this year. And then just like all the way down his bench, there's not a single person on his bench that you're going to ever feel good about plugging into your lineup.
Yeah. James says slander you'll be hearing from my team's lawyers. And Scott, when I was shit talking to the team, did the salt emoji. But like, I totally get it. I thought Bijan was a reach. I think, like, imagine this. If he doesn't reach on Bijan, imagine what his draft could have been, right? Josh Allen. Then you go, what, Saquon instead, or Jonathan Taylor? You have your pick of whoever you like out of those two. You can still get Kelsey in the 3rd. Then you don't have to reach for a quarterback in the 4th after all of the, top talent ones are gone.
Yeah.
You can go with, let's see, who else is going to be available there? You can get Mike Evans still in any pick of your other receivers, basically. I just feel like I'd rather have that core. I feel like him going Bijan early, and this is the thing about drafting, it's like you're trying to fill your team's spots, right? When you grab one player, it dictates the rest. When I didn't grab Tyreek Hill and grab Lamar Jackson instead, it forced my hand. I'm not getting both Kyler and Dak, right? Same Bijan, you're grabbing a running back. Bijan, yeah, so there's been a slap bet offered. Bijan.
I mean, again, yeah, obviously part of it is always injuries.
Hold on. Bijan, if no injuries, finishes as a top 7 RB. Slap bet, let's go. I'm not taking that.
That was top 7?
I see top 7.
Sure. If no injury. Okay, hold on a second. I would be mad at James if he wouldn't make that bet. You took him as RB1. What do you mean if he doesn't get injured? I hope he finishes top 7.
It's top 1.
Yeah.
Top 1 is the where was RB7 in our draft? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. RB7 was taken at 25. If you had drafted Bijan at 25, we would be praising you.
Yeah. This would be like, holy shit, how did you pull that off? No, I got Isaiah Pacheco there. Like
Brad.
Thank you.
Alex, you drafted him top 1 though. Oh, I love it.
So when that comment came in from James, the like button on the thing was covering the 7. So I thought he was saying if no injury, he finishes as the top running back, and I was like, okay, I can understand that slap bet. And then the comments ticked up and it said top 7. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh man. No, the bottom line is I agree though with your point about his bench is weak. I actually might have taken Jonnu Smith as like a 17th rounder, but Let me actually see something really quick. 17, 16. I gotta keep doing this. Did he draft? 9, 11. No. But Bowers and Ferguson were gone. But that would have been stupid to draft John even stupider before those guys. But bench top to bottom, I'm not a big fan of. I don't think they're going to be very relevant. Jaleel McLaughlin might be the one, but still.
Yeah, just not a fan of anyone on his bench, and I have concerns about people in his starting lineup. So, James, sorry, you're in the bottom 3.
So, do you want to say our third bottom 3 team together?
Sure.
3, 2, 1. Zach.
Gone.
What?
No, obviously I have Zach in the bottom 3.
Yeah, I mean, like, we got it's the annual tradition at this point. We got to just keep putting Zach in our bottom 3.
I know we've had a lot of fun saying that Zach's team is terrible, and in the past, he's always made the playoffs. He's never like actually been that bad of a team, but in this situation, his team is kind of garbage.
I love this podcast so much.
We already talked about Marvin Harrison Jr. That was a reach. I don't like Najee Harris. I mean, literally the whole reason that we were talking about Jaylen Warren is everyone's expecting him to steal the job from Najee Harris because Najee Harris is like the most inefficient running back in the NFL. Don't love Zay Flowers. I think he reached on Sam LaPorta. I don't want anything to do with any of the Saints this year. Saquon could be a good pick, but like new offense. I think we talked about this a little bit at the draft. Like I go down his roster and I'm just like question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Like I just don't feel good about. And again, they could be there's some high upside guys here who could actually end up performing extremely well. But I honestly just like look at every single one of these and there's no one that I'm just like, yes, absolutely, that was great. I'm just like question marks all the way down the roster.
One thing that Brad just said in the chat that I thought was spot on: Herbert and Stafford. Even Zach's not that lucky. Like I don't get me wrong. I think they have decent floors, but like you just said, I'm not beyond Tyreek. Every one of his wide receivers has question marks. Even Marvin Harrison.
Tyreek. I mean, I think the expectation is that Jalen Waddle should be taking a big step forward this year.
Tyreek himself this week said, "I expect Jalen Waddle to be our wide receiver 1." Like. And I think there is going to be.
And when you're taking Tyreek Hill at the 2 spot, you're not liking that being said.
But I have no problem with. I don't have any problem with his first 2 picks. I do think Harrison.
I don't have a problem with it. It's just not the ones I would have wanted in that. Like if I was him, I would have taken Christian McCaffrey at 2.
Yeah, but
or Josh Allen.
I think Harrison and LaPorta were reaches, and I don't. Beyond that, I don't like his wide receivers with the exception of where he got Rashid Shaheed. Who I wanted really badly. But, like, Drake London, okay? Kirk Cousins could do well with him. Couldn't have no chemistry at all. Zay Flowers.
Is Kirk Cousins the starter, or is it going to be Michael Penix Jr.?
I think it'll be Cousins, but that for how long is the question mark, and how does that affect London's value? Zay Flowers, right? Like, I don't want any Baltimore wide receiver until I find one that produces. Roma Dunze, complete wild card. Jordan Addison, the second best quarterback that's in Minnesota. Who's throwing the ball to him? Yeah, there's just a lot not to like about his team. And beyond, I'm fine with his running back stable of Saquon and Kamara, but like beyond that, again, nothing left in the tank. And I get it.
Like I said, I'm just still so low on any Saints players this year. Like I wasn't touching any of them. I don't.
Yeah.
No faith. It wouldn't even surprise me if Alvin Kamara, like at the end of this year, like isn't there anymore, isn't even a starter. Like,
wow,
it wouldn't surprise me. Like, I think they have a pretty good rookie or not rookie, like I think a 2nd-year player who's gonna, when healthy, gonna be competing for touches.
So now that we've said all that, Zach, I'm sure you're gonna make the playoffs again. But the last thing we have to do is we have to do our predictions for week 1. So let me take the draft board off the board, put the browser up, and let's get crack-a-lackin'. So the first matchup, as is tradition, is the commissioners matchup. We've got I get my window matchup, and window who I think I had him bottom 3.
Also, for people who aren't aware of this particular order of the schedule, we sat there for like 30 minutes randomizing the draft
over
and over again, trying to get the matchup of Brad and Scott for week 1. And eventually it started to become fun because
it was fun.
We'd sit there and sweat it out like, okay, is it fuck? Like it was always like one away.
We would have to scroll down like here. I'm gonna do it just as a case or just to illustrate the point. So it would show on the screen the first like 3 matchups, and we'd be like waiting for it to show Brad and Scotty together, and then it'd be like I think did it just pop up? Because I think we said at one point, like, wouldn't it be anticlimactic if it just like that was just the matchup on the top?
The number 1 spot, the first.
And it was there. So yeah. All right. So I'm playing against Window. By the way, if you haven't changed your team name from last year, please do so. I think most people have.
We should address team names as we do this. So
there's going to be a very interesting team name discussion in the 5th matchup. It's going to be prefaced by the 2nd matchup. So the first one is myself against Window. Window projected as a 2.1 point favorite. Interesting. Okay. And as far as injuries, I mean, I have injured players on my team. Hollywood's not playing. Jonathan Brooks is going to be out for at least 4 weeks. Hawkinson's going to be in my IR for most of the season, probably. But aside from that, I don't think the only question mark right now is Devontae Adams and Jalen Waddle on each team in the starting lineup. And I think this is probably how it's going to look week 1. So who you got?
I got Window.
Yeah, I get it.
I picked him in my top 3. I have faith his team is going to come out and put up a win in week 1.
I picked him in my bottom 3, which is probably my kiss of death for me losing week 1. But I'm going to pick me because I put him in my bottom 3. I do think Baltimore, Kansas City will be a shootout. I think Waddle, like you said, is going to have a great year.
Well, hold on. Whoa. I didn't say he was going to have a great year.
Well, I
said I think the expectation is that he should be taking a step forward and having a good year. I don't know that that's what's got. That's why I said Tyreek Hill is a question mark and not a I'm lower on him than taking him in the 2nd spot.
I think Waddle lives up to that expectation, and
he very easily could.
Yeah. I mean, the only matchup I'm really concerned about, quite frankly, is Dak Prescott against the Browns defense because it is a good defense. But I'm playing Dak's going up against Will Levis. So I feel a little bit better. So
one of the big things for me was the Patrick Mahomes Lamar Jackson matchup here. Lamar Jackson just can't play well against the Kansas City Chiefs. He's never played well against them, and Patrick Mahomes owns them. So
if we know anything about that kind of pattern happening, it means he's due. It's like us at blackjack. Lose 5 hands in a row means we're due.
Oh yeah.
Next matchup, defending is the last year's championship,
which, by the way, I think is my vote for the 2 best team names right now. Big Tony's Gravel Pizza, love it. Brad's team name, I literally laughed out loud when I saw it.
After you stole a team name and then
no.
Sorry. After Window stole his team name.
Hold on. I didn't even know Windows stole his team name.
Yes.
Where did he steal it from?
So Brad named his team Fussy Fitzgerald's initially.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then Window made his team name Smell the Butt. And not only that, but also stole like the same logo that Brad had. And
so when I saw it, I just saw look at me stealing, and I thought I was gonna say TVs, and then it said team names, and I literally laughed out loud. I was on the plane flying back, and I was like, this has inspired me. I'm going to steal Jason's team name.
So Brad created it.
Yes. So I'm literally watching Dune on the plane, talking to Jason and Brad about it, and then I see his team name, and I'm like, "This is happening."
Brian, this is happening, buddy.
This is
So, Big Tony's Gravel Pizza versus Look at Me Stealing. By the way,
stealing team names.
Don't disagree that Brad's team name is easily top 3. I'm low key proud of my team name going back to that well, because the last time
I did appreciate that one as well. I should have commented that.
And
I thought you were gonna. It was good to going back to the future, and then when I clicked into the name, it's like to that well, and I was like, damn, I was not expecting that.
On top of that, the last time I made the championship was in 2021. Who was my quarterback? It's Superflex. It was the first year we had Superflex. It was Dak Prescott. Mm-hmm. So fitting. Anyway, back to the issue at hand. Scotty, our defending champ, is about a 4-point favorite. Who you got?
I really like. I mean, I see that obviously Scotty is the higher projection this week. I didn't have Scotty in the top 3 or the bottom 3. I had Brad in my top 3. I'm going with Brad, kind of keeping the consistent thing right now of my top 3s are going to get wins this week. Yeah, I just like a lot of his matchups. I think Brad gets the win here.
I mean, ditto, because I had Scotty in my bottom 3. I am really looking forward to seeing Houston and Indy. I think that's going to be a big... I mean, but the value that Big Tony has might be offset to some degree by... well, I mean, like I said, Josh Allen, I expect to outscore Big Tony. I do like Kyren over Achane, but I just think top to bottom, I prefer Brad's roster.
I agree.
So, yep. Next up, McMillan versus James. James, the only person who did not change team names, and somehow it actually works.
Yeah, Scotty mentioned that in the chat already. Somehow he still got 2 Robinsons. What the fuck?
Now I think he did it on purpose. I'll do this one with McMillan as the 4-point favorite. I had McMillan as my top 3. I had James in my bottom 4. He would be your bottom 3. So I got to go McMillan.
So this is the one time that I'm going to deviate. I also have McMillan winning this matchup. Like I said, I just like the matchups better this week.
That's a good question, Zach. Whether it's, I don't know if it's the same Robinsons or not. I'd have to have James weigh in. We've got Burchak and Zach. Zach, a huge favorite. I don't know why it's that drastic. An 11-point swing.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. But again, just kind of going against my, better judgment, I am picking Zach to win this week.
I had Alex close to my top 3. I have Zach in my bottom 3. I'm sticking to my picks. Alex. And now Jason Smith has CD in IR still, so projection.
Yeah, see, this is also the flip side of why I can't add in somebody directly to the IR. CD signed his deal. He is not out. He is going to play 100%. He shouldn't still be allowed to be in the IR spot. What the fuck?
I mean, I didn't do it.
Like, I understand that, but I'm saying, like, it shouldn't be a thing in the first place. But I'm also just like, at this point, set your goddamn lineups, guys.
I mean,
like,
if they're gonna have
we are less than 48 hours from the first game being played. Why don't have our lineup set?
This is true. That's true, Sandy. The battle of the stolen team name, Lisan Al-Khalib versus Lisan Al-Allen. This is where
I'm gonna change. I'm gonna change my team name, guys. I just thought it was really funny seeing Brad's team name being what it was, and I was like, I'm gonna change my team name now. And I happen to be watching Dune in that moment, so.
So, who you got in your matchup?
So, sticking with the top 3 thing now, going back to it. I don't care that we moved the pot up, Brad. Set your lineup on Monday like a normal person. But no, I'm going with Jason this week. I have him in my top three. Like I said, I like his team. I hope I win, but again, he's gonna get I think like a 5 point bump once he adds in um Jefferson. Hopefully my team can come out and put up some points at least.
This is interesting because I had you both in my top three, and I do think this is my matchup of the week to watch. I think this will probably be the highest scoring matchup if I had to guess. I think I just lean, and it's very slight. Ah, man. I'm gonna give. Are you gonna? Let me ask you this: are you gonna start Aaron Rodgers or Trevor Lawrence?
I don't know. I think right now I'm leaning towards Aaron Rodgers. That's why I have him in my lineup. But it would not surprise me if I make the switch. They're pretty evenly ranked overall for this week.
Yeah.
I think it's like 17 and 19 is like kind of the average between the two of them. So it's a little up in the air. I don't love Aaron Rodgers' matchup against San Francisco. So I could switch it, but I don't know for sure, honestly.
All right. I've decided. I am going Jason Smith. And it's honestly, it's not even based in any kind of fact or data. It's just I think there's karma for you stealing his team name.
The team name is going to change. So if my team name is different, would you pick me?
No, you upset the fantasy gods by stealing his team name in the first place. So
yeah, well, the fantasy gods already shit on me, so it doesn't matter.
Cesar Sacco. No, so we're not going to talk about Doom. But one thing I will say before we wrap up. We are going to try.
I thought the last 15 minutes of the pod was reserved for Dune.
Fuck off. Yeah, because I've watched it so many times. No, in all seriousness, we are going to try to do a consistent time for like a consistent day of the week, Wednesdays, and time for the pod if we can. And you know that way we kind of know when to expect it. It's kind of the perfect time. Wednesday's the perfect day because it's after the waiver wires have processed, gives time for everyone to set their lineups, and gives us an opportunity to kind of see what each week, everything's done of the last week. Everything's about to start for the new one.
Exactly.
And it gives you a time that you know what's happening. So we'll try to do that to the extent that I can with a child. So that's it.
We got to make it work. Before we jump off, though, that's not it. Stop that. Before we jump off, I just want to throw out there because it looks like we have 9 people watching. I don't know if that's everybody in the league right now or not, but hopefully it is. I'd like us to get some polls out there. Let's figure out some dates for league events. It's bare minimum this year. Let's get one in Nova. Let's get one in Frederick. I would be very much down to go to MGM Sportsbook, hang out for the day, grab some chairs, drink, watch the games. I am still very much also throwing it out there. James, if you're still in the chat, please let us know a weekend that would work for you, and we can see if we can get a group to come up to New York and do a league event. I thought that was really fun. It's been 3 years since we've been up there. I'd love to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think these are all brilliant ideas. I would love it if someone wants to start taking if you or someone else wants to start to take the initiative and start getting doing doodle polls or dates for league events or start getting it out there. I'm obviously that I'm happy to host at my place. I just like Jason Smith says, every Sunday will be Red Zone at his house. I'm gonna have Red Zone on every Sunday at my house. Sunday Ticket at my house every time. I don't know if I have Red Zone or not. I can't remember, but it's with YouTube TV. You get it now. So yeah, with Sunday Ticket. So yeah, I'm gonna have it on here. But we definitely will do a formal league event in at the bare minimum Nova, Frederick. Hopefully, we'll also do one like you said in New York and Hagerstown or Alex. If you want to host one, let us know. We do want to get some league events together this year. And especially because someone has to do their Sacco punishment at some point.
Honestly, that thing that I threw out there, that hour and a half to do, I don't remember, what was it, 2 miles for...
That sounds like it sucks.
It's gonna suck. It would be terrible, but at least I could get some cardio in while I eat too much. What was it? It was 2 miles, 6 beers, 8 donuts. I don't remember the 4. What was the 4?
I don't remember.
I sent it into the group chat.
Yeah.
Somebody help me in the chat. Although, Brad, if you really want me to go to therapy as my league punishment, I will do that.
I did love that one from Brad. It's like things that actually are like it's like
beneficial.
Yeah.
It was 4 slices of pizza. So
There
it was
is.
it was 2 miles, 4 slices of pizza, 6 beers, and 8 donuts in a 90-minute stretch.
That sounds miserable.
It does sound miserable, but it is something that is also a timeline that I could do it like if we did like an 11 a.m. like start to a league event, I could have it done by the time first games start.
And then be miserable watching games.
Yeah, but that's how I am normally, just watching my fantasy team play.
He speaks the truth. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see. Good luck in your week 1 matchups. We'll see you in week 2.
So anyways, back to